In today's episode, we're exploring the worst revenge animal attack deaths ever recorded, from a poacher who ignored tiger warnings to a lawyer pushed into alligator waters, but first, where workplace resentment turned bear feeding into execution. It was September 15, 2019, at the Montana Grizzly encounter in Bozeman, Montana, when a routine evening feeding turned into a nightmare that would shock the wildlife community forever. The 200-acre bear sanctuary, nestled in the Gallatin Valley, with the Bridger Mountains creating a dramatic backdrop, was winding down for the day as autumn temperatures dropped to a crisp 45 degrees. The facility, home to rescued grizzly bears unable to survive in the wild, maintained strict safety protocols that had kept staff safe for over 2 decades. Erica Dalton, a 34-year-old senior zookeeper with 12 years of impeccable service, was conducting her final rounds in the restricted keeper area behind the Grizzly exhibit. Known throughout the facility for her meticulous attention to safety protocols and genuine care for the animals, Erica had built a reputation as someone who never cut corners when it came to proper procedures. Her colleague Marcus Webb, a 29-year-old junior keeper with 3 years of service, followed behind carrying additional feed supplies for the evening meal. However, beneath Marcus's helpful exterior lurked deep resentment that had been festering for months. 3 formal write-ups from Erica for safety violations had cost him a recent promotion to assistant supervisor, and his bitterness toward her had grown increasingly toxic. Dr. Sarah Chen, the head veterinarian who had worked at the sanctuary for 8 years, had specifically recommended Erica over Marcus for the senior position, citing her unwavering commitment to proper procedures and natural leadership abilities. The American grizzly bear stands as one of North America's most formidable predators, a subspecies of brown bear that commands both fear and respect. Adult males can weigh up to 800 pounds and possess incredible strength, with the ability to run 35 miles per hour despite their massive size and deliver bone-crushing blows with their massive paws equipped with 4-inch claws. Their jaws generate a bite force of over 1,200 pounds per square inch, while their 2-inch canine teeth can penetrate through thick hide and bone with devastating efficiency. Grizzlies are naturally territorial animals and become extremely aggressive when surprised, threatened, or defending their food sources. In captivity, these bears maintain their wild instincts and can be unpredictable, especially during feeding times when their predatory behaviors are most pronounced. As Erica approached the 12-foot-high reinforced steel enclosure, carrying 2 buckets of fresh salmon weighing 30 pounds each, she turned her back on Marcus to unlock the complex feeding gate mechanism. The gate system required a specific sequence of locks to be disengaged, a safety measure designed to prevent accidental entry. In that moment of trust and routine, Marcus made his fatal move. With both hands placed firmly on her back, he shoved Erica with tremendous force through the partially opened gate directly into the territory of Kodiak, a 400-pound male grizzly who had been pacing near the feeding area. Erica landed face down on the concrete floor near the bear's established feeding area, the salmon buckets clattering loudly as they spilled their contents, immediately triggering the animal's defensive instincts. Kodiak charged without hesitation, his massive frame covering the 15-foot distance in mere seconds with surprising speed. His massive jaws clamped down on Erica's left shoulder with devastating force, the impact audible even from outside the enclosure. The bear's 2-inch canine teeth punctured through her thick khaki uniform and penetrated deep into her chest cavity, puncturing her left lung and causing immediate internal bleeding. Erica's shoulder blade cracked audibly under the immense pressure as Kodiak lifted her entire body from the ground and shook her violently from side to side, his powerful neck muscles allowing him to manipulate her 130-pound frame effortlessly. The grizzly released his initial grip only to deliver a crushing blow with his right paw across Erica's torso, the impact equivalent to being struck by a sledgehammer. The devastating strike broke 4 ribs on her right side and sent her sprawling across the concrete floor of the enclosure. Blood began pooling rapidly beneath her as internal bleeding commenced from the punctured lung, damaged liver, and multiple organ trauma caused by the broken ribs. Kodiak approached for his final attack, his predatory instincts now fully engaged, and viewing Erica as both threat and prey. His massive jaws closed around Erica's skull with tremendous force, the crushing pressure immediately fracturing her temporal bone and compressing vital brain tissue. Within 90 seconds of entering the enclosure, Erica Erica Dalton was dead from massive head trauma, internal bleeding, and multiple organ failure. The Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Department launched an immediate investigation into the incident, with detectives arriving within hours. Marcus Webb was arrested the following morning and charged with first-degree murder, though he maintained throughout questioning that the push was accidental. The Montana Grizzly encounter temporarily suspended all operations pending a comprehensive safety review. Erica Dalton's story was a devastating reminder of how quickly trust can turn deadly. For Shane McCoy, it wasn't sanctuary walls that would fail him, but his own arrogance, where Bengal tigers rule. It was March 8, 2018, in the dense mangrove swamps of Sundarbans National Park, Bangladesh, when the world's largest mangrove forest became the hunting ground for both predator and prey. The UNESCO World Heritage Site, spanning over 10,000 square kilometers across the Bay of Bengal Delta, was experiencing the height of monsoon season. Torrential rains had swollen the countless waterways that snake through the impenetrable maze of mangrove trees, creating perfect conditions for both wildlife and those who sought to exploit it. Shane McCoy, a 41-year-old American who had transitioned from wildlife photographer to illegal poacher, arrived in the Sundarbans with a singular focus on profit. His arrogant demeanor and complete disregard for local warnings had made him notorious among the fishing communities along the coast. Shane specialized in capturing rare tiger parts for the black market, driven purely by the enormous sums wealthy collectors would pay. His local guide, Rajesh Kumar, was a 38-year-old father of 3 whose desperate financial situation had forced him into working with poaching rings. Rajesh's nervous personality and intimate knowledge of the waterways made him valuable, but his sick daughter's mounting medical bills had pushed him beyond moral boundaries. Forest Officer Priya Sharma, a 31-year-old dedicated anti-poaching unit leader, had been tracking Shane's illegal activities for months through informants and surveillance. The remote location Shane had chosen was notorious among locals for a massive male tiger that had killed 3 previous poachers in the same area over the past 2 years. Village elders had repeatedly warned that this particular stretch of mangrove was cursed, but Shane dismissed their superstitions as primitive nonsense. The Bengal tiger stands as one of the world's most formidable apex predators, perfectly adapted for life in the challenging mangrove environment of the Sundarbans. Adult males can weigh up to 500 pounds and measure over 9 feet in length, with powerful limbs designed for swimming through tidal waters and navigating dense vegetation. Their distinctive orange coat with black stripes provides perfect camouflage among the dappled shadows of mangrove leaves. Bengal tigers possess incredible stealth capabilities, able to move silently through water and undergrowth while stalking prey. Their bite force reaches 1,000 pounds per square inch, delivered through 4-inch canine teeth designed to crush bone and sever spinal cords instantly. Unlike other tiger subspecies, Sundarbans tigers have adapted to be excellent swimmers and are known for their aggressive territorial behavior. These cats are ambush predators that rely on surprise attacks, often approaching from water to catch prey off guard. Shane positioned his steel jaw traps along a narrow waterway where tiger tracks were most concentrated, using a deer carcass as bait to lure his target. The illegal traps were designed to maim rather than kill instantly, ensuring the tiger would remain alive for harvesting valuable organs. As Shane worked methodically in the ankle-deep water, he remained completely unaware that a 450-pound male Bengal tiger had been silently tracking his movements for over 2 hours through the dense mangrove vegetation. The massive predator had detected Shane's scent from nearly a mile away and had been patiently following, using the natural cover of twisted roots and hanging branches to remain invisible. The tiger launched his attack from just 15 feet away, his powerful hind legs propelling his massive frame through the air with explosive force. Shane had no time to react, as 450 pounds of muscle and bone landed directly on his back, driving him face first into the muddy ground with tremendous impact. The force of the collision knocked the wind from Shane's lungs and sent his equipment scattering across the waterway. The tiger's massive jaws immediately locked around Shane's neck with devastating precision. The 4-inch canine teeth penetrated through skin and muscle, while the crushing bite force of 1,000 pounds per square inch compressed Shane's cervical vertebrae. The tiger's powerful jaw muscles applied relentless pressure, causing Shane's 3rd and 4th vertebrae to fracture with audible cracks. The spinal cord was severed instantly, cutting off all nerve signals to Shane's body below the neck. Blood began flowing rapidly from the puncture wounds as the tiger's teeth severed major arteries in Shane's neck. The massive predator maintained his grip while using his powerful forelimbs to pin Shane's torso against the muddy ground. Shane's body went completely limp as paralysis set in from the spinal cord damage, though his heart continued beating for several more minutes. The tiger then began dragging Shane's body deeper into the mangrove swamp, his powerful neck muscles easily handling the 180-pound weight. Shane's body was pulled over 200 yards through shallow water and dense vegetation before the tiger settled in a secluded area surrounded by thick mangrove roots. Within 3 minutes of the initial attack, Shane McCoy was dead from massive blood loss, cervical fracture, and spinal cord severance. The Bangladesh Forest Department launched an extensive search operation when Shane failed to return to his boat. His body was discovered 4 days later by anti-poaching patrol units. Rajesh Kumar was arrested and provided testimony about Shane's illegal activities in exchange for reduced charges. The incident sparked renewed international attention on wildlife trafficking in the Sundarbans. Shane McCoy's story proved that hunters can become the hunted. Off the South African coast, Lindsay Hartman was about to learn that steel cages offer no protection from the ocean's apex predator. It was July 22, 2021, at Seal Island near Mossel Bay, South Africa, when what should have been a routine research dive turned into a nightmare that would haunt the marine biology community forever. The rocky outcrop, located 8 kilometers offshore in the frigid waters of the Atlantic Ocean, serves as home to over 60,000 Cape Fur seals during breeding season. The island's strategic position in Shark Alley makes it one of the world's premier locations for great white shark research and cage diving operations. Summer temperatures had warmed the surface waters to 18 degrees Celsius, creating optimal conditions for both seal activity and the apex predators that hunt them. Lindsay Hartman, a 28-year-old marine biology graduate student from the University of Cape Town, had arrived at Seal Island to conduct her thesis research on great white shark feeding behavior during peak season. Known for her overconfident attitude and thrill-seeking personality, Lindsay often pushed boundaries that more experienced researchers respected. Her academic brilliance was matched only by her reckless disregard for established safety protocols. Captain Tom Morrison, a 52-year-old veteran of the shark cage diving industry, operated the research vessel through his company White Shark Diving Company. His 20-year safety record was impeccable, but declining tourism due to recent shark attacks had put enormous financial pressure on his business. Jake Stevens, Lindsay's 24-year-old ex-boyfriend and the boat's dive master, harbored deep resentment following their bitter breakup 3 months earlier. Jake's responsibilities included cage maintenance and pre-dive safety checks, duties he had performed flawlessly for 2 years. However, his recent drinking problem and public comments about Lindsay getting what she deserves had raised concerns among the crew. The great white shark represents the ocean's most perfectly evolved killing machine, an apex predator that has remained virtually unchanged for millions of years. Adult females can reach lengths of 20 feet and weigh over 5,000 pounds, though the average specimen measures 12 to 16 feet and weighs between 1,500 to 2,400 pounds. Their torpedo-shaped bodies are designed for explosive bursts of speed, capable of reaching 35 miles per hour when attacking prey from below. Great whites possess rows of razor-sharp triangular teeth, each measuring up to 3 inches in length and designed to slice through flesh and bone with devastating efficiency. Their bite force can exceed 4,000 pounds per square inch, among the strongest recorded in the animal kingdom. These sharks are ambush predators that rely on surprise attacks, often approaching from the depths to strike prey at the surface. Great whites are naturally curious but extremely unpredictable, making any encounter potentially fatal. Lindsay descended 20 feet below the surface in the standard aluminum shark cage, equipped with scuba gear and underwater camera equipment for documenting feeding behavior. The cage measured 8 feet long by 4 feet wide, with reinforced steel bars spaced 6 inches apart to prevent shark entry while allowing clear observation. Unknown to Lindsay, Jake had deliberately loosened the door latch mechanism during his pre-dive inspection, his resentment finally overcoming professional judgment. The cage was positioned directly above a seal colony feeding area, with chunks of tuna and seal blood creating a powerful chum slick to attract sharks. Within minutes, a 16-foot female great white, weighing approximately 2,200 pounds, approached the cage, drawn by the scent trail and movement in the water. The massive predator circled the cage twice before making direct contact, her powerful body bumping against the aluminum structure with tremendous force. The impact caused the loosened door latch to fail completely, creating a 3-foot opening on the cage's front panel. The great white immediately detected the breach and thrust her massive head through the opening, her jaws gaping wide to reveal rows of serrated teeth. Lindsay was positioned directly in front of the opening, making escape impossible in the confined space. The shark's upper jaw clamped down on Lindsay's left thigh with devastating force, her triangular teeth slicing through the thick neoprene wetsuit and penetrating deep into muscle tissue. The bite severed Lindsay's femoral artery, causing immediate and catastrophic blood loss. The great white's powerful neck muscles allowed her to shake Lindsay violently within the confined cage space, the motion tearing additional muscle tissue and expanding the wound. Blood began clouding the water rapidly as Lindsay's life force poured from the severed artery. The shark released her initial grip only to attack again, this time clamping down on Lindsay's pelvis with bone-crushing force. The second bite fractured Lindsay's pelvic bone and compressed vital organs, causing massive internal trauma. The great white's teeth penetrated through to her spine, severing nerve pathways and causing immediate paralysis of her lower body. Within 2 minutes of the cage breach, Lindsay Hartman had bled out underwater, her body going limp as her heart stopped pumping. The South African Maritime Safety Authority launched an immediate investigation into the cage failure, focusing on equipment maintenance and safety protocols. Jake Stevens was arrested and charged with culpable homicide after admitting to tampering with the cage latch. White Shark Diving Company faced multiple lawsuits and eventually ceased operations. Lindsay Hartman's tragedy showed how human sabotage can turn protective barriers into death traps. In the remote wilderness of Texas, Garrett Flynn was about to discover that some animals never forget years of cruelty. It was November 3rd, 2018, at the Primarily Primates Sanctuary in San Antonio, Texas, when years of cruelty and abuse finally reached a breaking point that would shock the animal welfare community. The 78-acre private facility, nestled in the rolling hills outside the city, housed over 300 rescued primates in what appeared to be a legitimate sanctuary operation. However, beneath the surface lurked a dark reality of mistreatment and outdated training methods that had gone unchecked for years. Garrett Flynn, a 39-year-old sanctuary owner and former circus trainer, had built his reputation on dominance-based animal control methods that belonged to a bygone era. His cruel and abusive treatment of the primates under his care had become legendary among staff members, who witnessed daily acts of violence disguised as training. Garrett's use of electric prods, food deprivation, and physical intimidation had created an atmosphere of fear throughout the facility. Dr. Lisa Park, a 44-year-old primatologist, had filed multiple complaints with Texas Parks and Wildlife regarding Garrett's treatment of the chimps, documenting instances of abuse that violated every ethical standard. Bobby Morrison, known as Tank, was a 31-year-old former employee who had been fired 6 months earlier for reporting animal abuse to state authorities. The evening of November 3rd found Garrett alone at the sanctuary, having dismissed all staff early to avoid witnesses to his increasingly violent training sessions. Chimpanzees represent one of humanity's closest genetic relatives, sharing over 98% of our DNA. but possessing physical capabilities that far exceed human limitations. Adult male chimps can weigh up to 150 pounds and possess strength 5 to 7 times greater than an average human. Their powerful arms can exert tremendous force, capable of tearing limbs from bodies with ease. Chimpanzees have large canine teeth, measuring up to 2 inches in length, perfectly designed for inflicting devastating bite wounds. These highly intelligent primates possess complex social structures and long memories, particularly when it comes to perceived threats or abuse. In captivity, chimps can become extremely aggressive when mistreated, often coordinating attacks in groups to overwhelm perceived enemies. Unlike many animals, chimpanzees can hold grudges for years and will actively seek opportunities for revenge. Garrett entered the main habitat enclosure carrying his signature electric prod, a weapon he had used countless times to intimidate and control the 6 adult chimpanzees housed in the facility's largest compound. As Garrett stepped through the reinforced gate, Caesar, the 150-pound alpha male, immediately recognized the electric prod and let out a series of warning screams that alerted the entire troop to the perceived threat. The attack began with coordinated precision that demonstrated the chimp's intelligence and planning capabilities. Caesar charged directly at Garrett from the front, while 2 adult females, Luna and Kira, flanked him from both sides. The simultaneous assault overwhelmed Garrett's ability to defend himself or retreat to safety. Caesar's powerful arms wrapped around Garrett's torso, his incredible strength allowing him to lift the 180-pound man off the ground with ease. Caesar's massive canine teeth immediately clamped down on Garrett's right shoulder, penetrating through his thick jacket and into the muscle tissue beneath. The bite force, estimated at over 1,300 pounds per square inch, crushed bone and severed major blood vessels. Blood began flowing rapidly from the puncture wounds as Caesar shook his head violently, tearing additional tissue and expanding the wound. Luna attacked Garrett's left arm, her powerful jaws closing around his wrist with devastating force. The crushing bite fractured both the radius and ulna bones, while her teeth severed tendons and arteries. Kira focused her assault on Garrett's legs, using her incredible strength to tear at his clothing and expose vulnerable flesh beneath. The coordinated attack continued as the chimps used their superior strength to systematically dismember their victim. Caesar released his grip on Garrett's shoulder, only to grab his left hand, using his powerful arms to twist and pull until the fingers separated with sickening pops. Luna and Kira worked together to remove Garrett's shoes before beginning to tear off his toes with their teeth and hands. The most devastating injury occurred when Caesar's massive jaws closed around Garrett's throat, his canine teeth puncturing the carotid artery and crushing the windpipe. The combination of massive blood loss and inability to breathe created a fatal scenario. Within 10 minutes, Garrett Flynn was dead from multiple traumatic injuries, massive blood loss, and asphyxiation. The discovery of Garrett's body the following morning triggered an immediate investigation by local authorities and animal welfare organizations. The sanctuary was permanently closed, and the surviving chimps were relocated to accredited facilities. Bobby Morrison was questioned but never charged, as investigators concluded the chimps had acted independently. Garrett Flynn's death proved that years of cruelty can create enemies with long memories. In the remote wetlands of Florida, Melanie Sloan was about to encounter a predator that had ruled the swamps for millions of years. It was August 17, 2017, at Shark Valley in Everglades National Park, Florida, when environmental activism collided with organized crime in one of America's most dangerous wilderness areas. The remote section of the park, located deep within the River of Grass ecosystem, stretches endlessly across sawgrass marshes and cypress swamps, teeming with prehistoric predators. Summer temperatures had soared to 95 degrees with oppressive humidity, creating perfect conditions for both wildlife activity and human vulnerability. Melanie Sloan, a 33-year-old environmental lawyer from Miami, had dedicated her career to fighting illegal development projects that threatened Florida's fragile ecosystem. system. Her determined and fearless approach to litigation had earned her numerous enemies among powerful construction interests, resulting in multiple death threats over the past year. Vincent Torino, known as Vinny, was a 45-year-old construction company owner whose family had ties to organized crime dating back 3 generations. His ruthless business practices and willingness to eliminate obstacles had made him wealthy, but Melanie's lawsuits threatened to cost him millions in lost contracts. Eddie Marsh, Vinny's 29-year-old nephew, served as both enforcer and guide, his extensive knowledge of the Everglades making him invaluable for disposing of problems in the vast wilderness. Eddie's violent tendencies and intimate familiarity with alligator behavior had earned him a reputation as someone who could make people disappear without a trace. The American alligator stands as one of nature's most perfectly designed killing machines, a living relic from the age of dinosaurs that has survived virtually unchanged for millions of years. Adult males can reach lengths of 14 feet and weigh over 1,000 pounds, with massive heads containing jaws capable of generating bite forces exceeding 2,125 pounds per square inch. Their 80 razor-sharp teeth are designed to grip and hold prey rather than chew, with new teeth constantly replacing old ones throughout their lifetime. Alligators are ambush predators that can remain motionless for hours before exploding into action with lightning speed. Their signature death roll technique involves grabbing prey and rotating rapidly to disorient victims while drowning them in shallow water. Alligators are territorial creatures that become extremely aggressive when defending their domain, particularly during mating season when males are most volatile. Eddie led Melanie to a narrow channel known among locals for its large alligator population, claiming it represented the worst example of pollution damage from nearby development. The waterway, barely 20 feet wide and surrounded by dense sawgrass, provided perfect cover for what Eddie had planned. As Melanie knelt at the water's edge to collect samples in sterile containers, she remained focused on her scientific work and completely unaware of the danger lurking beneath the murky surface. Eddie positioned himself directly behind Melanie as she worked, waiting for the perfect moment to execute his plan. With both hands placed firmly on her back, he shoved her with tremendous force into the shallow water directly above the territory of a 12-foot bull alligator that had been resting motionless on the muddy bottom. The massive alligator responded instantly to the splash and movement in his domain, his prehistoric instincts triggering an immediate attack response. The 600-pound predator launched himself upward through the water with explosive power, his massive jaws opening wide to reveal rows of gleaming teeth. The alligator's jaws clamped around Melanie's waist with devastating precision, his 2,125 pounds of bite force crushing through her lightweight field clothing and into the soft tissue beneath. The initial bite fractured several ribs and compressed vital organs, causing immediate internal bleeding and trauma. Melanie's body went rigid from the shock as the alligator's teeth penetrated deep into her abdomen. The predator immediately began his signature death roll, a technique perfected over millions of years of evolution. The alligator rotated his massive body rapidly while maintaining his grip on Melanie, the spinning motion designed to disorient prey and cause drowning. The first rotation drove Melanie underwater, filling her lungs with murky swamp water as she struggled desperately to breathe. The death roll continued with relentless precision, each rotation causing additional damage to Melanie's already crushed torso. The spinning motion caused Melanie's broken ribs to puncture her lungs and liver, creating massive internal bleeding that clouded the water around them. After 3 complete rotations underwater, Melanie's struggles began to weaken as drowning and blood loss took their toll. The alligator's grip had compressed her diaphragm, making breathing impossible. Within 90 seconds of Eddie's push, Melanie Sloan was dead, her body going limp in the alligator's jaws as her heart stopped beating. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission launched an extensive search when Melanie failed to return from her research trip. Her body was recovered 3 days later by airboat teams. Eddie Marsh was arrested after cell phone records placed him at the scene, and he eventually confessed to the murder in exchange for a plea deal. Melanie Sloan's murder proved that protecting nature can turn deadly when powerful interests feel threatened. Just when you think revenge can't get any deadlier, click the next video for more shocking animal attacks that will leave you questioning who the real predators are.